Yes. Yes, okay. So, as you can see, as a special allowance, this is what we're talking about. So we're talking about things that, if you like, supplement your income or add to the income that we receive. So we talked yesterday, I said the day before, about wages, the difference between wage and salary, about different types of income that you can get. So today we're talking about special allowances. So the first thing is overtime. I think everyone probably who works here is on a wage, so you would get overtime for Sundays or public holidays and stuff. So basically it's just that on certain days or for certain hours you get special allowance. You get extra money for working on that. So there's a penalty rate also. If you work on a Sunday, it's double time. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some place on a public holiday can even do 2.5 times. 2 times. And then often if you work longer than if you work more than 8 hours in a day, and you do an extra 2 or 3 hours, that can be 1.5 times. Again, that's what time and a half is. So time and a half just means 1.5 times, 1.5 the hourly wage, and double time is 2 times the hourly wage. And then 2.5 times, etc. Okay, it follows through. And so when you're working these sort of things out, you just got to be careful of the language and the terminology, and make sure that you break up the hours and work out how many hours you do at double time, how many hours you do at 1.5 single hours, whatever. Okay? So let's have a look at this example. Nick earns $17 an hour and earns double time on Sundays. If he works 23 hours during the week and 5 hours on Sunday, what is his income? So first thing to do is double time. I just have to restart OneNote and then it'll come through. Okay, so go back. Now, so if you earn $17 an hour, his double time is obviously $17 times 2. And there's two hours worth in one. Equals $34. Alright, and so he works 23 hours at $17 an hour and 5 hours at $23. Sorry, $34. So his pay, total pay, equals 23 times 17 plus 5 hours at $34. And that equals 170, and what was it, Charlie? 561. $561. Okay? So just breaking it up, making sure you're familiar with the terminology, which you should already be. Now, allowances, there's a few different allowances. Well, there's actually lots of different allowances that we have. Okay, when you talk about salary packages that different companies give you, there's all sorts of allowances and complicated tax breaks and various things that happen. But right, so there's various allowances you can have. A few of them that we can just go through. Obviously, a bonus. You often hear about a pay bonus. That happens if you Christmas time, a company, their good wishes, they will pay a bonus to their employees. Or different times for certain good performances, say in a sales company, maybe give a bonus for performance and whatever else with bonuses. And then you can also have like danger money or money that's paid on top of the usual wage for being in a particular environment. Maybe it's hot weather allowance. So sometimes teachers, if teachers go and work in the country, say you're out in the middle of the desert in the country New South Wales, it's actually a hot weather allowance that the Department of Education pays on top of your allowance because it's tougher to live out there. And that's also to cover costs that are associated with living in a hot climate. There's extra cooling costs or whatever. And if someone works on a toxic site with particular types of waste, in a particularly dangerous environment, whatever it might be, there's usually some sort of allowance associated with it. Right? So that's one thing. And so let's say that we have this example here. So Kate earns $25.50 an hour, but because of her work with dangerous animals, she receives a special allowance of 6%. She gets 6% on top of her hourly rate. So if she works 35 hours in a week, what is her weekly pay? So there's two ways you can do it. First way is just to say, well, let's do 25.50 times the number of hours, which is 35 hours, equals, grab this one at 25.50 times 35, 892.50. Okay, so that's her weekly pay, and then you add 6% onto that. So 6 over 100 times 892.50 equals 6%, Franco, of 892.50. $53.55, and then we add them on together. So 892.50 plus 53.55 equals 5465. Can someone verify that this is correct? 946 and 5 cents. Okay. So the other method you could do is find what 6% of 25.50 is, and then multiply it by 30. Either way is fine. You're just adding 6% onto the pay. So this idea of allowance is always something that's added for whatever reason, all sorts of reasons. Now, final thing is to talk about holiday leave loading. Could somebody explain to me what holiday leave loading, or leave loading, or holiday loading is? Franco. Yeah. It's a little bit. So what it is, it's like a bonus for having a holiday. Okay, so everyone in Australia, legally, if you're employed full time, you have to have a minimum of 4 weeks a year. Okay? In France, I think it's 6 weeks. In America, they don't have any weeks. So if you work full time in the US, you don't get any compulsory holidays. So but in Australia, we get 4 weeks a year, which is given. Some companies give more, others less, but you have to have 4 weeks. And when you go on holidays, obviously it's paid leave, so you get that 4 weeks worth of pay when you're on holiday. Okay, so it's not unpaid. But on top, usually, most places you get this, on top of your 4 weeks pay, you get what's called a leave loading, which is a percentage that goes on top of that 4 weeks pay. And often it's 17.5%. So you have to work out, when you ask to say, well, how much did that person earn during his holiday, you have to work out 4 weeks pay, and then add on 17.5% to that 4 weeks pay. It's kind of a nice. Alright, so Brendan earns $45,000 a year. He takes his 4 weeks holiday and receives a 17.5% leave loading. Okay, he gets his loading. Nice. What is his pay for those 4 weeks? Alright, so this is its number of steps that we have to work out. So the first step is we have to work out what 1 week's pay is. How do we work out what 1 week's pay is? It's 52 weeks in a year, so that's 52. So I have to do 45,000 divided by 52, which is what color? $865.3. Alright, so that's what he would usually get in a week. That's his weekly pay, based on his salary. And so what we need to do is say, well, what's 4 weeks pay? Obviously, it's 4 times 1 week. So it's 4 times 865.38, which is equal to 3,461.52 cents. Thank you. Alright. So that's what he would get in 4 weeks. But then when he's on holiday, as a bonus, he gets the leave loading, which is 17.5% on top of that. What am I waiting for? Someone said Anyway, so that's right. So then we have to work out 17.5%. I'll do it the other way of working out adding percentage on it. So remember that you can also think of it as, if you're adding a certain percentage onto something, think of the total as 100%, and then you add it on. So we're trying to find 117.5% of the total. So we add the loading. So 117.5 over 100 multiplied by 3461.52, and that is equal to 4,067.31. So that's how much that he would have. 4,067.31. Alright, so find what the weekly salary is. 4 weeks at the low. Okay? Now, it's also important, generally in this course, very wordy sort of problems. Right? There's a lot of word problems and interpreting them. So it's good to always clearly conclude your question, or your answer actually, by answering the question in a clear way. So what I mean by that is, you say, well, you know, if there's all this stuff that's going on about, it's asking you all these things, well, make sure you say, Brendan earns $4,067.31 during his 4 weeks, something like that. Alright, so you're saying very clearly that the question has asked you something. The question has asked you, how much does he own in 4 weeks? It could have also asked you, what is his leave loading in dollars? That's a different question, so you have to make sure you answer that clearly. But whatever it is, conclude it nicely and clearly with a sort of sentence that answers the question. Final thing is, government allowances, I'm not going to do any examples because it's the question itself, and in many cases the government website or wherever you're looking for the information has unique information about whatever it is. But government allowances are paid to people in special circumstances. If you have a baby, you get a government allowance. But the amount depends on whether it's your first child or your second child. Again, that's to encourage people to have babies and to support people when they're having it, so it's not such a financial burden. So that's part of the thinking behind that. If you're unemployed for some time, you get some government benefits that are designed to help you to be able to survive and get through to be able to find a job. Right, and then there's benefits that are to do with assistance for rent. If you're a student, you can get benefits. If you're at university, Oz Study, Youth Allowance, which is to do with paying you a certain amount while you're studying full-time, assisting with rental property, or whatever it might be. So there's all sorts of government benefits, and the amount and what sort of people can receive, it depends on your situation, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you have kids, whether you earn a certain amount, whether you don't earn anything, how long you might be unemployed, or whatever it is. All sorts of things depend on it. Alright, the information is available through tables and pages in the different government. And if ever there's a question in an exam or an assessment about this sort of thing, the information will be provided to you. There will never be a case where it says, how much does someone receive in family benefit scheme who's single and has 3 kids? You don't need to memorize any of that sort of information. It's more a matter of interpreting the information you're given and making sure you do it correctly. Right, so now we've done that, work on exercise 3.3, and that will be great. And we'll stop.